have to have an umbrella. Just, because it rained at your polling place doesn't mean it's raining at every polling place in America.
Well, in a sense, it might be, but yeah, not the physical.
There's three things: Shanksville, Pentagon, and at least two buildings on 9/11. What do they have in common, RJ? They fell into their own footprint. They fell into their own footprint. That's where we started hearing that phrase. Something can collapse and disappear into its own footprint.
Disintegrate.
Just
the dust was
sorry, but I am not sorry. It is not aliens or the Gibberim Nephilim. It is human sin we deal with here. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood was Armageddon. That's right. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Glad I got that out of the way. Welcome. Hey, the famous Randy from Wisconsin. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, until then, I'd never heard of thermite.
No, man, we want to stick on this collapsing in its own footprint. Oh, thermite can make it all disappear.
Not termites. Thermite.
It's like that itch you get in your toes. So you can put that Lotrimin on it. That's thermite. Would you get a thermite infection? No, hey, man, somebody from Sweden. Hey, Nakame, do you know how to speak Finnish? Because we're limited to Finnish here, man.
I can speak suspicious, but yeah, that's about it.
Well, we got election stuff going on. I made a video last night about the election and my predictions. I wrote some. Here's the. Trump will say he didn't really try to win the election. This is my prediction from last night. I know you haven't.
Yeah, I didn't catch it.
Why would Trump want to win this election? Because this economy is set up for the straw to break the camel's back. And when they do, they're going to have all types of fake information from the Obama-Biden era that their stock market was better than Trump's. And now that he got back to president, it's going down again. And he's going to say, that was their game plan. I didn't fall into it. I acted like a crazy person. And I think that he will start talking more normal again and stop with the funny sun tanning and, go back and be like, I'm proud of my gay son and my gay wife. And I'm happy that I distanced myself from Epstein, and maybe he'll try to run again. Who knows? But what do you got, RJ? He's going to say they set him up. Oh, I said the storm has arrived. I think that the storm that President Trump said that is coming, maybe it is this new hurricane that they're, been quietly hinting at for 2 months. Like, it's possible to have another hurricane. And then they started going like, well, looked like one may possibly come. And now, sure enough, it's freaking here. And it's called Raphael.
Well, yeah, there's a number of topics that probably ought to be revisited as far as, the information, whether it's health care, climate change, as far as, the currency and how that stuff, and you might need your disclaimer with
some
of, because we're not.
I know that the one thing,
just the subjects, because it's
here it is. Because and honestly, we should be allowed. We shouldn't have to show this. I should be able to give really good medical advice that I shouldn't have to say, oh, there's still some controversy over ivermectin. I should be able to go like, Paco loves ivermectin and wants everybody to have a stockpile of it. I don't even know what it is, but they don't like it. That means it's probably something we should stock up on. And that's financial advice. And what am I allowed to give or say? I mean, to stay out of trouble.
Well, yeah, different platforms have different rules.
Well, I only do the YouTube because that's the one the Lord started me on, and that's the one we used to have that really big channel on. We were changing the world, man. Nobody wants to see this small screen, so I probably have to show you this. Oh man, this said, remind me to send a thank you note to Mr. Boeing. This is a movie made in 1969, put out in 1970 called Airport. The theme was a man was going to blow up a plane with a homemade bomb. He was a lone wolf, and the reason he was going to do it is because he had war trauma. All he knew how to do was make demolitions, and he kept getting fired because he didn't like his bosses. So he was going to kill himself and leave $250,000, which is a fortune, I guess, in 1970, to his wife. But the plane didn't blow up, and he landed it. And these guys at the end were going like, wow. Because in America, we have the Boeing 707. It's like take the wings off it. They say you could use it as a tank. That's kind of weird, huh?
Yeah.
Propaganda, for sure. So, did you send me that? Or are we going to look at this? 20 is too young to drink beer, but 18 is old enough to vote. That's what a lot of people in America are going like, how come, where did the common sense go? Thank you, Brenda McDonald, for this.
That's Joan's that's the youngest out of 16 children. Yeah, it's her sister, Brenda.
What's this one mean here? Nothing makes sense anymore. No values, no morals, no civility. And people are dying of a China virus, but it's racist to refer to it as Chinese, even though it began in China.
Oh, that's what I want.
Yeah, that's when you could probably.
It was released, it's probably more. It didn't begin there because this was in labs, in America, before what Fauci subcontracted, the gain of function, to that lab in China, but it didn't begin in China, but it was released.
They were eating live bats. I heard they were eating live bats.
But I believe that it was their intent to probably release it there as well. So yeah, but okay, whatever.
Yeah. And the government has their story. We have our right to question it. We've shown the fair use. We're religious people. We don't have the jab. We preach and teach that eventually they're going to come after us again and kill us because, doggone it, we're scared we'll get sick because you didn't have the jab. That's coming again. It's like that worked so well last time, right? Why mess with it? I wouldn't mess with it. What's this, RJ?
Wants a spoiled surprise when it's time to whip up an omelet. One unwashed eggs, preferably straight from a local farm. If you can find some from free-range chickens, even better.
I know you got some new stuff, but I haven't gone over your old stuff
we mentioned earlier, which is crucial for successful preservation. And here's a tip. When you buy eggs, don't be shy. Check them for cracks and imperfections. Don't be shy. No one wants a spoiled surprise when it's time to whip up an omelet. Once you've secured your fresh eggs, it's time to choose your preservation method.
You know what these guys are talking about? They're talking about preserving eggs for a freaking year, RJ.
15 years shelf life without refrigeration.
Forgotten about it.
15 months for an egg? That's unbelievable.
Years.
I know. I was just setting you up with a softball.
There's no fancy science behind it. No complicated steps. Just coat the egg and call it a day. Plus, it's a method that anyone can try at home without needing any special tools or ingredients. A bottle of mineral oil is all you need, and suddenly you've got eggs that could last
Oh,
you
sure enough. Yeah, they're trying to take it back where we gotta buy things from the man. I'm just kidding. This is like $4 or something, you know? Wow. So that's some good advice. What else did you got?
In this, this is old news, but
I never heard it.
and well, the Amish are the ones that still carry on, that, and not all of them, but that the way to keep food shelf stable without electricity, yeah.
So they got another big city.
Oh, I wanted to comment on that comment that I sent you.
About
And I
the
forget.
mouse or the
Well,
chipmunk?
where the government came in and took the guy's squirrel and the raccoon and gave him a death sentence.
Why don't you go ahead and
Where
give a
he
little
had that
background?
sanctuary for animals, and he had been using at least a squirrel and some of. I
Right.
sent that, I think, on November 2nd.
That was his
And that's what that comment from
ministry or his.
yesterday, I think, was referring to that video. Even I don't think he had shared it. They had seen it on their own, and what they left in the comment
There it is.
yesterday.
There it is. I got it. I'll show it now.
And we can skip.
Oh my goodness.
What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. There's a reason why every single meme on planet Earth right now involves a cute, adorable squirrel from the state of New York.
That's John Wick. That is a computer-generated squirrel, because usually they're not like cute like a bunny rabbit, and I think that's what they're kind of.
And John Wick. In fact, the #1 story in the world right now is about Peanuts the squirrel. It's a story of grotesque government overreach and evil, and it is unifying the entire country and may well affect the result of the 2024 presidential election. This may be the great determining factor that tips the scales in favor of Donald Trump and against government tyranny. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Peanut the squirrel. Peanut the squirrel has millions of social media followers. Here's 570, just 70,000 just on Instagram alone. Peanut the squirrel is a rescue squirrel that brought joy to millions and millions of people every single day. Peanut the squirrel has 3 million social media followers across platforms.
No way.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't like this kind of shit. They kill this fucking mouse. Excuse my language, but are you kidding me?
And the raccoon. They took them both because he has this sanctuary, this guy, and he was using them for, gaining, any kind of support or, to, do the thing that he was doing. And it just happened, I guess, last week, because when I forwarded to you on the 2nd, a few days back, it was fairly fresh at that time.
I guess when you told me about it last week, I envisioned somebody had found a raccoon and a squirrel after the Hurricane Helene.
No. This
type of a situation. I had no idea.
I think the squirrel is like 7 years old. The squirrel, I think that he had him for years. That was some of his first work, and that's how he was, the annex of the squirrel and whatever, and one big happy family. And they came in and took him and whatever, euthanized him or whatever you want to call it.
What did he have? Did Has there been an outbreak of squirrel fever or something I missed, or what?
No, it was illegal for him to have them in his possession or in his home because, well, that's inhumane. So they took them and disposed of them, I guess.
It reminds me of somebody jumping off the steps, wanting to be greeted by their father's arms, and when they missed, Dad says, "That'll teach you."
Yeah, I'll teach you.
Yeah, hope they
you
learned
gonna
a good
trust?
lesson right there. Are you kidding me, Marcella? You got a recipe here. Coconut oil. That sounds simple because most people are going to have that around anyway. Store in a box in a cool, dry place. What? My kitchen cabinets. Remember to soap sales, man. They sell refrigerators also. Refrigerators are 100 years old.
Well, now they yeah.
Yeah, in our world, they just invented like we went right from like I'm salting my bacon and it's going to stay cured for a year to now we get eggs for 15 years. And it's like, wait, we could have had that all along, but instead we got cell phones where we have 18-year-olds, going like, ooh, I bet that this pitch is a strike. Ooh, I just lost $2. Who cares? I'll bet the next one's a ball. Welcome to our world. I don't want to watch any more of the squirrel one. I think I'm sufficiently, everybody sufficiently.
But the comment that I sent from yesterday that's what it was referring to, because I don't know how else, that's why I, brought it to your attention again, because the comment that I sent when you were live yesterday morning after we were done, that after I went over the comments, that's got to be what it's
from
about.
Melrez Little Ranch. Now they come after squirrels and raccoons too. I didn't have any idea that this squirrel had its own TV show, and a lot of people like to watch. It's like one of those cats they dress up or something. But people like that stuff. They love it.
Well, they won't be getting any more of that there.
Well, they're going to have to find another squirrel, man. You got to find some place where squirrel raising is normal. Here's this other thing.
Duty, their honor, and their oaths will not bind them. Let us not put into their hands our liberty and all our other great interests. Governor Morris, the penman of the Constitution, the author of the preamble to the Constitution, he didn't.
Wasn't that? I thought that was Thomas Jefferson. Whatever.
Not mince words. But despite that warning, despite that advice, politicians
I believe he was credited for writing the text.
Violate their oath to the Constitution.
If I think it and remember it from being taught in mainstream, it's probably wrong.
More than likely.
I heard he stole it from the Cherokee. I heard he stole it from the 5 civilized Iroquois nations. I heard he plagiarized it. So now I get putting a name with who he plagiarized from, allegedly.
Almost constantly, 24/7, 365, and they never seem to pay the price. The people, I think it's out of ignorance or fear, or maybe a lack of self-respect. Their standards are just way too low in what they deserve. Maybe a combination of all of this. They don't hold them to this standard. And on this episode, I've got a bunch of insight, warnings, and advice, and a bunch more great quotes on the oath to the Constitution from the founding generation that we can't afford to ignore.
Oh. Was there a part of this you wanted to hear?
Well, like I say, I wasn't all the way through, but it was from yesterday. This was yesterday's podcast that he does, I think, Monday through Friday, if I'm not mistaken. But
see the highlighted part here? It says, I do declare that I will defend and support the colony. So they've had the same general thing all along.
He's going over the oaths that are administered at time of you take office.
Oh, I know. I renounce my vow to the Constitution.
And what's implied by taking an oath. And he he breaks down some stuff and then gives you advice to, if you want it.
We're going to get right back to the
get
elections,
deeper.
ladies and gentlemen, but we're going to drop in on a little bit of oath taking and breaking and swearing by Corbin.
Now, a lot of people think that not only that phrase at the end came much later, but we see George Mason using this in Virginia in 1775 in the height of the American Revolution and the early part of the War for Independence, but added this, provided always that the people called
it's like looking in
Quakers
the
shall
mirror. If I
affirm
shave
to the
my
same
beard, we have
effect
the same
and
chin and
also
everything.
subscribe the same. You
I
can
wish I
find
had that guy's
references
teeth.
to an oath or affirmation in regards to Quakers all over the place during the American Revolution. You can also see oath or affirmation included in various state constitutions, revolutionary ones, and even Alexander Hamilton, his hated internal tax, the whiskey tax. It included this phrase about oath or affirmation regarding Quakers, I think in 5 different places. For example, they shall attest by the same by oath, or being a known Quaker by affirmation. So the notion that we have no idea why they include that, maybe it had to do with Quakers, is absurd. I just wanted to point that out. Now, not everybody was on board with the oath under the Constitution, and it doesn't mean that they were opposed to the idea for oaths, although some people thought it was just absurd and it would be kind of a false security. But a vast majority of the people on the anti-federalist side, they just didn't like the wording in conjunction with what they saw as way too much power being delegated to the federal government or the new general government, or what they saw as a national consolidated government under the proposed Constitution. This, I believe, was John Smiley in the Pennsylvania Ratifying Convention, pointing out that Article 6, Clauses 2 and 3 are concluding clauses that the state governments will be abolished. So in other words, there will no longer be a union of states. It will be a singular national government. And as Patrick Henry warned, a singular government over such a great territory will absolutely destroy the liberties of the people. That's what he predicted. And here it says, the oath here required is contrary to the oath required by the Constitution of Pennsylvania. No member of the assembly will hereafter take the latter oath. So they're being asked to take 2 oaths, and maybe an oath in one of the state constitutions had something competing. So they were very concerned about that on the anti-federalist side. Here's Luther Martin, also in the Philadelphia Convention. He made this motion to strike out the words requiring such an oath.
Wow, that probably was too loud of a cough that I did not expect. I thought it would be like that, RJ. Hey, did you see what I was showing there, RJ?
1958, September 2nd.
That DARPA. I've been telling people, I think that the Lord showed me this. That's why I've had this up and been showing it for all 10 years. Going like, hey, look, there was a time in 1958 where nobody would get paid that worked for the government or received funds from the government unless they took and raised their hand. I take an oath and affirmation, and I'll even sign your freaking affidavits that I don't believe in. I'm not a member of anybody that supports or teaches that any organization that there was an overthrow of the United States government by the mafia. By forces.
To see here.
Yeah, nothing violent, nothing illegal, but the mafia who teamed up with them in World War II, nothing unconstitutional happened. If you want any money, you'll sign this paper right now. And you know what their wife said? Sign the fucking paper because I am hungry. And they did. And this is the 1958 Public Law 85-864. If anybody wants to look it up. And why do we keep doing this, RJ? I mean, here we go. We're telling them the same thing, and they don't want to look at us as Moses and Aaron for some reason, or even a mini Moses and Aaron.
Is that horse still dead?
They rather fight about going like, how come Alan thinks he's Moses? Why isn't RJ Moses? Well, I'm freaking Moses in this situation, And RJ is not. He is the other guy. We're the mouth of 2 witnesses. We're not really Moses and Aaron or Elijah and There, we're just the two guys that for 10 years that said, pull your
Transfiguration,
head out of your ass and read the Bible like a man. So we got this, are there any more videos? I'm afraid I got triggered there. Flashing back to the old days of why nobody, we had a big channel when I got triggered all the time, but now that I'm calm, nobody freaking likes me anymore. Nobody ever really liked me anyway, because they acted like they did. That Noah Church, boy, he really
It's
sucked
not
me.
you. It's just the topics you want to speak about.
It's the ivermectin, it's the jab, it's the shit like that. It's the 9/11. I know. You got to show these disclaimers and act like, look, I want to be a cult leader, so you can't hold me to. I'm crazy.
Stationary under the dome.
Man, I saw a guy that looked like Vara last night in that video. Oh, I was going to show some of that video. I know you might have some more stuff here, but I'm going to look that up in my history just to show you the what I did last night. Because it was that funny picture. I showed the picture of the president's boob. Did you see that? Well, not her whole boob, but she's wearing a pretty low-cut dress, man. I kid you not. If you didn't see it, it's like she might as well be naked. Dang.
And who gets credit for the photograph?
I don't know. It was on TV.
Okay.
She was famous before. So here's the part about the movie I mentioned. And remember, everybody, they did the eugenics, the Margaret Sanger. They hate you. Nothing here for medical advice, although you should be listening to me. Another picture from the movie that we're going to be looking at. It's one of those free movies on the YouTube right there. That's the famous actors right there. This one is Burt Lancaster. And their plane made it, and it said, remind me to send a thank you note to Mr. Boeing, because all through this 1970s production, it was all about America. America number one. And the Boeing
landed on the moon. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll solve it. And they were going to teach people through movies how to live and how to think. Baby. Now, this was a movie. And they knew that there was always going to be, whatever the age you set for women is, they want them a little bit younger. So in some countries, it's like you can't get married till you're 40 or 35 or 21 or 18 or 16. And I think in like some countries, it's 15. Or maybe that's America. I think you and your third wife, you were 15, right? And she was 63.
At this time in Wisconsin, anyhow, we had 18-year-old beer bars, and then we had the 21-year-old, to enter, saloons.
You had 18-year-old titty bars. I knew people that were driving from Illinois to go to strip bars when they were 18 years old.
And then by the time I graduated, 1974, they had changed everything to 18. And in my class of, I think we started out as a freshman, 120-ish in my class. But then by the time we became seniors, there was well under 100, maybe like 90. But there, I was the youngest in my graduating class. So there were those that were 18, come noon for dinner time, whatever. They would go down to the local saloon, just 3 blocks away, have a couple beers, and then come back to high school.
And
legally. And then it only took a couple years, when then they bumped it up to 19, and then it went.
It turned 19 in a couple of years.
Across the board.
Okay, when you changed to 19, they legalized it in Illinois for 19. Yeah, and I was 19.
They had Minnesota, and then Minnesota had near beer. It was a lower alcohol content beer. But yeah, then And then they had the embargo and a lot of stuff. That's when everything just went haywire.
Check this out,
President
though. This
Carter only
happened in
served a
1972.
single term. But it got
This is when they
everybody
did the
synchronized,
changeover. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well,
Go
everything
ahead.
got synchronized, on the super slab for a while. You could only drive 55 miles an hour. That's when I got that speeding ticket in Wyoming, Big Sky, where there never used to be a posted daytime speed, but I got a citation for unnecessary waste of a natural resource.
Wow.
Because I was driving, too fast. But everything got homogenized.
So you thought it was a
during them years.
necessary use, not an unnecessary
Because
waste.
the feds would hold the funds if the states didn't comply.
Those
If you
dirty.
read-
Yeah, our eugenist,
what was
racist government
happening.
at that time was changing the way people think, and they used movies to do it. So we're gonna.
It's all part.
Yeah, we've got a lot of topics. So let's listen to this one here. The year that they started the I clicked the wrong planned internet that is going to expire in 2038, not 2038, just simply 2038. They're talking about abortion. I think for the first time in the big screen, they're acting like, and this is the Dean Martin. It's abortion and 9/11. Everybody, get your mind around it. Act. I mean, they've just been recycling the same actors for the last 50 years.
Oh, yeah, I prefer the younger. That's all I heard. But opportunities, don't last forever. Pretty soon, you and I will have to settle for the not so young one.
Oh, I already have for quite some time.
Yeah, that's right. You always played it right straight down the line. No mucking around on layovers.
Well, Helen was a stewardess flying DC-4s. That's how we met. And she knew what was going on. So when we got married, I made her a promise, the obvious one. I always kept it.
Well, I guess all those kids you had helped.
Yeah, maybe.
How many of you got? 6?
No, 7. 4 we planned. 3 we didn't.
The ones you didn't plan, did you ever consider doing anything about them before they were born?
Wow, I should take a screenshot of that because he's definitely. I did take a screenshot talking about abortion in 1970, and this was the typical answer in 1970. They said it would, if they ever did pass the law for abortion, it would only be in extreme measures in the 3rd trimester. It's a short video, but it still seems like I'm beating a dead horse. Anything you want to add on that part, RJ?
Well, even these actors, like Dean Martin, allegedly he had about a dozen children himself. Really didn't drink. That was the character he always portrayed. Then he did his singing and whatever as a career, probably there in Lost Wages area where
him
maintained.
and Dean Martin, the Rat Pack. They were the Rat Pack, and their gig was like, they called all priest witch doctors, and then Sammy Davis went Jew. I mean, the eyes were on them as much as the eyes were on Taylor Swift and the other famous people today, the Kelsey
and
brothers.
They maintained, it lingered a lot longer with these individuals probably than in the limelight today. It's kind of more short-lived, but it still goes on.
Yeah, just as long as they need them. They're disposable. Right. There's always a straight up line of 10-year-old people that want to be in the movies. They want to go be a star, and by the time they're 18, they're going like, "He touched me." Or something that first it was just like very vague, and they said they'd never expand it because everybody thought like this. And then they get into divorce.
Let me tell you something. I love all 7 of them, but the 3 we didn't plan, well, they turned out to be something real special.
So he's been fooling around, and now he's just wondering what's going to happen. Oh,
And then the other thing they show is
here's another
how
thing. They were making
easy divorce came
easy.
in
Women wanted their own
1970.
way, and sometimes men just said, you know what, we got to let it go. We got to let it go.
A waiting room, a place where I can walk the floor and wonder whether you're going to leave this damn airport long enough to drop by for a few minutes.
Why you have to pick tonight to come out here and fight with me?
I came here to tell you that Roberta left home.
She's just staying. Don't worry about Roberta. She's only staying overnight with her friends. She's saying she wants a divorce, and at the end she goes like, you know what? I am already in love with another man for the last 2 years, and you never noticed because you don't care about me. And they basically reconcile and go like, false alarm. That was not the takeaway. The takeaway is that she admits she's been having an affair, and he didn't even know.
When we tell the children, we must do it together.
Of course.
It's just, and they act like the stereotype is in 1970 when divorce was like unheard of. People, you have no idea how unheard of it was. That just portrayed as like, well, see, once it's over, you know, you'll be seeing your children more than ever. That's what I've heard is how it works. It's all one lie to pacify us for one more day, one more election. We got adrenochrome drinking, baby eating politicians in power, and they call me weird. That's just insane. So let's look at the headlines for the people. So we've already look, it was oaths and affidavits. It's right here. This is the same law that changed the world, the National Defense Education Act of 1958. Where did they start NASA? Right here. They authorize it. You get the money for this, but not unless you take the oath and affirmation. It's NASA. It's DARPA. That's this law, 1958. September 2, it goes into effect by September 11th. It's all happening. This is DARPA. Look, I'm going to do this thing, man. This is how I got here. Somehow. Like if I search this, it's going to go right to this National Defense Education Act. We can look it up on the Wikipedia, and it'll tell you that we got the space race, we got the DARPA, we got the NASA, and the STEM from the guy who used to work for the United Fruit Company that cut off people's hands if they didn't pick the frickin' bananas fast enough. So, ladies, gentlemen, I mean, we could do this all day. We've been doing it for years. Some people like it. Some people will listen and learn. But the thing is, when we, along with everybody else, are watching every word, thought, and deed for everybody flood over us from the water's memory, we'll have a clear conscience, man. I know I will. That's why I'm doing this. It's not because, I get so, it's the spiritual riches that I enjoy. There certainly aren't much of else. I shouldn't say that. I live more comfortably than most people.
Enhancements?
Yeah, for the most part. I was just reading some of the comments. So anything you want to go with, RJ? We've got some time. I knew there were some other things. I have some of our old videos pulled up.
No, I don't have anything yet in particular. Like,
oh, good. Then check this out, if you don't mind.
No,
not that one. Not that one. This is
flood theology. Everything from endoric basins to the rocks to the timing has been your little Paco.
Yeah, that's me.
We took over and occupied land. And I think that
I was just showing that I started this movement in 2016. Too bad, people. I know you don't like to hear it, but somebody had to start it. I know you wish it would have been you. Do you really? Do you wish you had gangrene and had to go through some of the crap that I've gone through? It's easy to say that.
He pretended to be heartless, but I knew what he said came from the heart. Make up your mind, he told me. You either live or die. You can't be in the middle.
Placement drummer in time. Pete was so numbed by such treachery that he agreed to continue until he was replaced. When Brian stood up to see Pete out, he said he would be happy to build another group around him. Outside on the pavement, he told Neil what had just happened. Then
now, Pete Best was raised by his mom, who was kind of like, they show love, and take it away to hurt you. Anyway, this was when we were, first starting the floods and stuff. I think it's going to be.
Well, I mean, there's plenty there that's descriptive.
Yes.
And then it's, on the individual to be creative. And if you're going to produce some sort of, animated.
This is from 9 months ago in February, where we said this is the year of the election where we're going to go bankrupt because of storms, insurance companies going bankrupt, can't pay. The shenanigans will continue until the United States is broken, begging for money, and Russia and China, and nobody's going to buy anymore. All of these things have happened, and it's based on that the storm hit Beverly Hills, where I predicted the storm would hit would be the seat of Satan's throne. Whether literal, metaphorically, that's where it is. That's where the Hollywood, that's where they got the movies out there. So we caught that one covered. I wanted to show that.
Yeah, but when it goes back to consider the source, it was like 10 days, 2 weeks when that was going on out in the Pacific, and that guy was saying, this isn't normal.
Yeah.
They're tinkering with something here, guys.
Yeah, that atmospheric river.
And then that storm that was whatever came out of nowhere and hit Mexico about, again, week prior. It was,
oh my goodness, yeah, it passed through, and then it went through Mexico, and it's like, here, San Diego, how do you like me now?
It's like, is anybody paying any attention here?
Yeah,
and it was like, not really, hardly.
I think that they're like Marcella and Sergio are trying to tell Vara that Flatsoy just used him or something, because he said they appear to be gatekeepers and stuff, and they should know. They would know.
Yeah, you like to be optimistic, but whatever.
It is. It's one of those things where the flat Earth, without the true truth of the Trinity, of being willing to look into it and say, look, you don't want to look into something that people used to be willing to die for, that there was no Trinity, and that the Roman Church was the bad guys for killing them. And they were, but now people don't want to look into that topic and see why they were willing to die, rather than say, no, I'm going to believe in the Jesus that wasn't a Trinity. And they side with the people that go like, well, we took care of those guys, didn't we?
Well,
whack.
Yeah,
it's
once
crazy.
You realize, this is a stationary, closed system, and there's only one way out for everyone. Whenever that happens, but
what is that? Could you be more vague? I don't know.
Well,
what do you mean?
This life doesn't carry on into the hereafter. That
we're all going to die. We're all going to die, everybody.
And that's your way out at that time, as far as from leaving this world. Yeah.
Is that one of those anomalies or metaphors or something that, because I know personally my spirit crying out right now is going like, don't worry, because when you die, you'll never know how much. Well, we're doing something that is going to produce in another lifetime, and we won't know how much our seed is capable, because God said in John, your yield, was it John 15, 16, until you die, you don't know what your yield is. So there's kind of that. You have to wait to see, but I don't want to die yet. I want to keep building gold, silver, and precious stones, and hopefully get caught up with the burning fire,
Lord willing, yeah.
Yeah,
again,
I mean, it's
but yeah, not everybody sees the same thing. Not everyone, believes the same thing.
and Jesus tells her, I'm the Messiah. I got the living water. And it's a beautiful, beautiful portion of scripture. But
so, yeah, is that true or isn't it?
It's true.
That's true. What I think.
Yep.
We got
the second coming of Jesus in the millennial kingdom. It's the major doctrine of both the Old and New Testament. Early in Psalm 2, the writer says that the Lord scoffs at those who rebel against him. So the Warville, I popped this one up and I hadn't read it. But again, it's going to go right back to Zechariah. Lo siento.
Deuteronomy 28 already. The Lord is telling them that they're going to make a man their king. This is long before Samuel.
Right.
And that you'll serve other gods made of wood and stone, and among all the peoples where the Lord will drive you, you will be a thing of horror, a byword, and an object of scorn. That's back in Deuteronomy 28:36. Like he doesn't know what's going to happen, right? Did you stall out, Alan? Not sure.
Oh man, I had to cough, so I turned off my microphone. So what I wanted to say was that we're not getting down on Beck from Oz. She's the salt of the earth type that we don't want to get trampled into uselessness by believing nonsense, BS, like there could be a camp of the saints at the North Pole Hollow Earth for some apparent reason. And I consider it, I'm glad you agree, kind of our job to go like, look, people, there's scripture. So, man, that was not too bad to leave it off. It was just a few seconds, I think. Anything you want to say before I hit go?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
And this is long before, they make Saul their first king. But it's
verse 45.
God fulfilled all of his promises.
All these curses shall come upon you and pursue you and overtake you till you are destroyed, because you did not obey the voice of the Lord your God to keep his commandments and his statutes that he commanded you.
And then you find the passage that says, they've all been, and while you wouldn't want to believe it, I guess, I can't debate.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you have any, I'm thankful that at least this one got a couple thousand views. Usually a solid core will be listening, but this is a question that, to me it seems clickbaity to keep going back over it, but we keep hearing people refer to premillennialism, the theology of the golden age past, as preterism. and people are going like, it doesn't matter if they call it preterism. That was one of the biggest things that still needs to be fought. Go ahead, RJ. The unclean shall not pass over it. It shall belong to those who walk on the way. Even if they are fools, they shall not go astray. No lion shall be there, nor any ravenous beast come upon it. They shall not be there. But the redeemed shall walk in it, and the ransom of the Lord shall return and come to Zion with singing. Everlasting joy shall be upon their heads. They shall obtain gladness and joy and sorrow, and sighing shall flee away, because Jesus is sitting on the throne in Jerusalem. Oh, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say anything. That's another big deal, RJ, is that, I got a little bit of confrontational last night. JT loves JC. 1,000-year reign, pop up, and here we go. He had that one guy that tries to look like Bob Seger, and he was all about Benny Hinn, Oral Roberts, Jimmy Swaggart, Kenneth Copeland rolled into one, talking about an hour of how he's seen and looked into the eyes of demons. And don't worry, demons can only scratch you. They can't hurt you except for to scratch you. And I've seen it, and it was just like, that's where this is going with the JT loves JC is, when he first came out, there was a little bit of the, maybe Costa Mesa, California. We speak in tongues, but don't talk about it in our live streams that much. But then they get in their special guest stars, and that one they had last night. If you've seen so much, where's the video? Where's the video of you casting out the demons? Girls cutting their wrists in front of you, and then you casting out the demon, and them going like, oh, where am I? What happened? Oh no, hug me.
But that Tucker Carlson had some sort of true confession, allegedly, that included what you were
Roman Catholic Trinity nonsense distraction. They're not really having that kind of stuff. I mean, otherwise I would have seen it. My sister was in the charismatic movement for 30 years. I went to some of those revivals. Fake. Yeah. They catch them with the things in their ear. They have people talk to them. I'm hurt. Why are you here? Blah, 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 blah. Boom, run right back. That girl, blah, 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 blah. It's so simple, but people don't want to believe they're being misled.
Yeah, probably not. I mean,
yeah, where's the line? Sign up for people. Yeah, I'm gullible one. Yeah, I'm that sucker that's been born every minute. But the thing is we've all been fooled.
Yeah. Welcome cognitive dissonance. What's going on here? Why doesn't anything make sense?
No, Mike, I'm the one that asked you the questions. Why do people that learn about flat Earth think that's the only big deception?
Yeah, I can't speak for anyone else. Speculating, it should be a big deal. But once you understand what's been revealed in the sacred scriptures, it should be clear. But yeah, people want to hang on to the past BS and ignore the truth. It seems, it's a struggle. It's a challenge for some for a while, anyhow.
Because people are always dealing with their sexuality and like wondering if, wow, my wife keeps asking me, do these pants make her butt look big? And there's no freaking way I'm going to say, no, it's your big butt that makes your big butt look big. Because that's not a part of the way men think.
Yeah, in general, yeah.
Anyway, this is pulled up for comment.
They would go to the doctor because they had acne or something. And this is a common thing back in, this is the 70s and 80s. It was a common thing then, and it might still be, I don't know, for the doctor to prescribe birth control pills because it clears up your skin. Which is weird, right? I didn't come here for birth control pills. I came here to clear up my skin. Well, this will do both. It'll clear up your skin and keep you from having babies. I wonder what the girl's not sexually active, right? But so it's kind of an interesting thing. And we saw, I think we over the last 5 years how very often the medical establishment is co-opted into pushing treatments and drugs that don't really work for what they're supposed to, or do serious damage to the human organism, right? And so treating female fertility as a disease and trying to change the proper functioning of a woman's body is kind of mind-blowing, right? And of course we've seen lots of this happen over my lifetime for sure, that more and more people are trying to destroy fertility or trying to control it in some way, even the fertility of other people. You also see this in farming. And so what we do biodynamic farming, which
I would recommend his type of organic farming. But here you go again. Next thing you know, RJ, I'm going to be talking about 9/11 or something, and it's election day. It's supposed to be about election, and it's like I am a one-trick pony. It's all about abortion and 9/11 and a little bit of Darwinism. What the? Let's go.
In some control, yeah.
So anyway, let's go live with a live search for live coverage from Fox.
Place and interview people as they come out.
I can't stand the chat. They're so distracting.
And what they'll do is, in order to
not
be
our chat,
kind of
our chat's
random,
super cool
nature to it, they won't take everybody that comes out or somebody who just wants to talk with them.
They'll
have what's called a polling interval or a selection interval. They'll select every 10th voter, for example, that might come out of that particular polling place and attempt to complete an interview with them.
So they're probably trying to be like, well, we can cover for Trump's ass kicking for a while, but eventually it's going to come out. So I'm probably out on a limb, right? Is Trump supposed to win or lose?
I don't have that information. What's supposed to happen?
I don't know either. I haven't
Everybody
really
is here. Studio Rachel Scott is here.
Hey, that's a football player. He's a famous football player. If you ever want to see that, he got the record for sacks. Brett Favre laid down for him so he could get his 22nd sack and set the record. His name is Michael Sapp.
With the latest on the Trump campaign. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, Michael, good morning. And this has been a campaign unlike any other. Donald Trump launched his third bid for the White House 720 days ago. A twice impeached former president.
Wow, that's like such a geometry number that even the people that do skateboarding know it.
Convicted of a crime and survived 2 attempted assassinations. His closing message has been dark in the final days, but Trump also campaigning on that one key question, whether Americans are better now than they were 4 years ago.
Oh.
Overnight in Grand Rapids, Donald Trump holding the final campaign rally of his 2-year-long bid for
Remember him pumping his fist after he got shot like the wrestling star?
president, urging voters in battleground Michigan to turn out.
November 5th, today, will be the most important day in the history of our country.
Taking the stage after midnight and speaking until after 2
It's just the most important day.
a.m.
With your vote tomorrow, we can fix every single problem our country faces and lead America, indeed the world, to new heights of glory.
His voice hoarse.
I can't wait for the new heights of glory. Can you give us a general overall view of that, or should we just keep going?
Yeah, keep going. Yeah, we're
Remarks at times rambling after barnstorming 3 swing states in just one
He's got to
day.
be tired.
Trump repeatedly turning to
She's
personal
got to be tired
insults and
too.
dark
Where's
rhetoric in his
Kamala?
closing
How come
message,
they're only
even
talking about
referring to
Trump?
Nancy Pelosi, the first female House Speaker in U.S. history, with an expletive.
She's a crooked person. She is a bad person. Evil.
I'm just saying that this guy, he's Jeffrey Epstein's friend. Kamala Harris slept her way to the top. When the mafia had picked their puppets,
what can you tell us about dumbing down society?
yeah, where's Kamala? Is that her? There, she's the president. If you want to, you can go find pictures of her boobs on the internet. Well, not her boobs, but in low-cut dresses, because that's the way she rocked it.
Former president's comments that he will protect women whether they like it or not, and Trump's own statements that he would put
This guy here, he's right about the vax and stuff like that. But to make it to the top, you got to be a horn dog. It turns out this guy's been horn dogging the whole time. It's like, wow, do you ever just sit down and work?
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has pushed a range of conspiracy theories in charge of women's health.
Oh, Bobby, you got to do one thing, do whatever you want. You just go ahead, work on the pesticides, work on making women's health. He's so into women's health. He's really unbelievable. It's such a passion.
Oh,
So the campaigning is over. Donald Trump will cast his own ballot in Palm Beach before holding an election night watch party there later this evening.
And what can you tell about the move inside the Trump
watch
campaign?
party?
Yeah, look, this is a campaign. They
Hey,
feel very
who's this?
confident
Jill
about how
Stein. I
far.
never heard of her until recently. She likes to
Running
say
on
dumb
all
stuff
those
like
issues,
this.
why not make it a political campaign and speak to a larger audience? So I got political out of desperation because nothing else was working.
I want to pause on because you said you got political out of desperation. And that feels exactly like what this moment is in my own community and what I'm seeing on social media and from the youth, from Muslim Americans, from Arab
reporting on
Americans.
election news.
So talk to me about how
Al
that
Jazeera.
upbringing and your desperation has turned into what we're seeing now, the anti-genocide candidate.
Yes. So that desperation that drove me to political action was really transformed in the course of conducting an election. You know, when you run for office, you're kind of public property.
Jill Stein, she's a liberal, but she's like against Gaza being starved to death. Have you heard about that genocide going on in Gaza?
Well,
they haven't delivered any food to
a number of them. Yeah,
they haven't delivered any
also-
food to 2 million people since October 1st, and they're all starving to death. There's a lot of people that are very upset about it. I know that my numbers aren't right, but I had to use like conservative numbers because I've heard so many more
And you talk to everybody, and you talk to people on the street, and you talk to people when you're flying in the middle seat on airplanes. And, you know, we run a people-powered campaign. So there's really no barrier between me as a candidate and the public. And
that looks like if I was going to candidate, that'd be me. There'd be Trump rallies, and then there'd be me going like, hey, free coffee or something, you know? And this is what they do. It's obvious we can't support genocide, and why do they got to pull this washed up liberal out of the drawer, the junk drawer of washed up liberals? What is Ariana Huffington busy, or is she still with us? Go ahead, RJ. What is this?
You know what? You seem to understand their motives and their intent. And don't get pulled into their vortex of bait and switch, or however you want to label political action, because you won't find any of them telling you the complete truth with what they're doing.
No, but they could probably sell you a $12 cup of coffee. I like
Well,
the title.
yeah,
Democrats
all they need is
pretend to be the lesser evil. I thought the Republicans were supposed to be the lesser of two evils. Are they trying to take?
When you have two heads on the same serpent, you know, yeah.
I see that whoever this Jill Stein is, she's like the Constitutional Party, except she's for the Democrats. She's running for president, and I see that she's wearing the Hafida scarf. There, is that close enough? It's she's showing identity. It's like, but look, I don't want to identify with another religion. I want to just go like, you don't starve children. You don't starve even warriors that have been brainwashed to death. It's like, I don't think that's...
Well, if you want to get, a group to comply, that's a tactic that's been, successful in the past.
Let's face it, liberals got the good fashion.
The human rights abuses and the crimes being committed against the Uyghurs. We're not funding that. We are
don't know
funding
about how healing
the
crystals
genocide
really can
of
be
the people of Gaza. So
with
it
good
deserves,
prayer
it deserves the full
Christian.
focus of our attention. I now have a running mate who himself is very familiar with these issues. So I'm in the process of being informed. He has certainly taken a stand, an unabashed stand, and we are.
I'd have to say, I don't consider that long hair for a man. That's probably not. I'm not gonna look at everybody and judge their hair, but that's not even borderline, I would say, but maybe getting close to the borderline.
He is advising me and I'm coming up to speed. It's very hard to know, through the US mainstream media, what is the truth. And we have seen so much death, disaster, genocide committed because of the power of the US war machine and the power of the US propaganda machine. So as Greens, we're always very guarded about taking these accusations at face value. So that is why we want to give them full review. And now that we have someone who's very close to this issue, I look forward to coming out with a statement soon that will help bring my part of the agenda up to speed on the Uyghurs, as we have already done in clarifying.
Hey, RJ, want to know something? Want to hear something?
What's up?
Have you ever heard about there's some Pentecostals that won't wear makeup because they think it's sinful?
Okay.
I used to have this volleyball team, and they would ask me, "Hey, coach, don't you think some of those girls are so ugly they should wear makeup? They're so ugly without it, it's a sin." And I go just wear your makeup or whatever. I don't care about your makeup. I care about if you're ready for every point, blah, blah, blah. But but secretly, I kind of agreed with them that it may be a little bit of makeup is, definitely helpful for some women.
Our position on Syria and on Russia for that matter. But what we have complete agency over is not just the words that we use, but actually the slaughter that is being conducted. So this is our first, our first priority is to end this slaughter. And, it's not enough to open up the delivery of humanitarian aid.
At first, I thought that was an apartment building.
The Harris-Biden administration sometimes calls for. That's not enough because that aid is going to be destroyed as it has been destroyed. We also have to stop the genocide. It's not enough to feed the people who are then being targeted and bombed and, and buried under rubble. We have to stop
kill live targets.
Burying them under the rubble as well as providing them food
That's
and
not
medical
an earthquake,
care.
ladies and gentlemen.
That can happen on day one.
I saw a swastika.
More with Dr. Jill Stein.
I saw
all that destruction actually necessary?
Well, it does. Do you know how much money you can make?
And bombed and, and buried under rubble. We have to stop burying them under the rubble as well as.
There's the swastika. It's from a meander. This is an ancient swastika symbol where it's in and out, but it's a swastika.
Providing them food and medical care. That can happen on day one.
More with Dr. Jill Stein after the break.
You ever heard of her?
I'm not familiar with her.
Yeah, I never heard of her, but she's like a presidential candidate.
Democrats in 2 houses of
In the
Congress.
I'm
United
definitely
States?
not for the 99%. I'm for the even narrower road than that, probably. Well, maybe. I don't know how big the percentage is going to be, but
Well,
probably less than 10% of proclaimed Christians.
if the day is at hand, make the most of it. You know, as far as dilly-dallying, sometimes you can get lose track of time, but
I like it.
yeah,
Yeah, look at these people who lost track of time, but now they're praying for each other. That's what we have to remember. I'm not wearing a hat. You're not wearing a hat. We would encourage the women to put on a hat. If you'd like to close us with some prayer.
yeah, I can make an attempt at something. Holy Heavenly Father, wonderful Counselor, Abba, we come to you with thanks and giving you praise for what you have established, what you have accomplished for us, your pinnacle of creation, humanity. And we want to take this time to pray for one another, whatever situation we are in. We know we are in good hands, regardless of the outcome. Everything works to your glory, and we want to be faithful to what you have promised us, and we want to encourage one another to maintain the focus, keeping our hands to the plow without looking back, and we look forward to that timeless eternity that you have in store for us. We pray that you are able to continue to use Alan as your mouthpiece for proclaiming and defending your truths as you have presented them in your sacred scriptures. All of this we ask in the Messiah, Emmanuel, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, saving name, Christ Jesus. Amen.
Hey, look at some of this crazy chat, man. Willie Brown. You know what she's talking about? Condoleezza Rice called Willie Brown and said, "Don't fly to New York that day on 9/11."
Okay, sure, yeah.
Did you say November 5th? That was also the day of Guy Fawkes Night when they had that Catholic attempted revolution where they even told on their own people, and it's that V for Vendetta. Remember. So this is there are shenanigans going on right now. Any final words, RJ?
Stay safe, stay informed.
Because you're on a flat earth nation and the golden age is past and the mud flood was Armageddon. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're one called, two chosen, three faithful to being dedicated to living a life to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. That's just like adios.